Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button because today we're talking about something that is affecting billions of people worldwide. But most of us don't fully understand why we get addicted to our phones and social media, and I want to be clear from the start. If you find yourself compulsively checking your phone, scrolling through social media even when you don't want to, feeling anxious when you can't access your device, or losing hours to apps that you didn't intend to spend time on, you're not weak, you don't lack willpower, and there's nothing fundamentally wrong with you. What is actually happening is that some of the smartest engineers and psychologists in the world have deliberately designed these platforms to be as addictive as possible, exploiting fundamental features of human psychology and brain chemistry that evolved millions of years ago for completely different purposes. You're not failing at self-control, you're up against billion-dollar companies that have weaponized neuroscience and behavioral psychology to capture and monetize your attention. So today, we're breaking down exactly how phone and social media addiction works in your brain, why these platforms are so difficult to resist, what psychological tricks they're using, and most importantly, what you can actually do to take back control. Let's start with the neuroscience, because understanding what's happening in your brain when you use social media is absolutely crucial. At the center of all addictive behaviors, whether it's drugs, gambling, or scrolling Instagram, is your brain's reward system, specifically a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Dopamine is often misunderstood as the pleasure chemical, but it's actually more accurately described as the anticipation and motivation chemical. Dopamine is what your brain releases when you're seeking rewards, when you're anticipating something good might happen, and when you're motivated to pursue something. It's the neural signal that says, this might be rewarding, pay attention, keep going, this is important. Evolutionarily, dopamine helped our ancestors stay motivated to seek food, find mates, explore new territories, and pursue opportunities. It's a crucial survival mechanism. Here's what's fascinating and terrifying. Dopamine responds most powerfully not to guaranteed rewards, but to unpredictable, variable rewards. If you get the same reward every single time you do something, dopamine release actually decreases over time. Your brain adapts, and the behavior becomes routine rather than exciting. But if the reward is unpredictable, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's amazing. Sometimes it's mediocre. Dopamine stays elevated and you stay motivated to keep trying. This is called a variable ratio reward schedule, and it's the same mechanism that makes slot machines so addictive. You pull the lever, sometimes you win big, often you win nothing, occasionally you get a small win. And your brain stays hooked because the next pull might be the big one. Social media platforms have implemented this exact same system, and they've optimized it to perfection. Every time you open your phone, you're essentially pulling the slot machine lever. Maybe you'll have notifications, dopamine hit. Maybe someone liked your post, dopamine. Maybe there's an interesting message, dopamine. Maybe there's nothing, but the next time you check might be different, so your brain stays motivated to keep checking. The unpredictability is precisely what makes it so compelling. You never know what you're going to get, so your brain releases dopamine in anticipation, and you feel compelled to check. This is why you can check your phone, see nothing interesting, put it down, and then find yourself picking it up again 5 minutes later. Your dopamine system is still activated, still anticipating that the next check might deliver the reward. Let's talk about the specific psychological mechanisms that social media platforms exploit, because it's not just about dopamine, it's about multiple sophisticated behavioral tactics working together. First, there's the infinite scroll. Traditional media had natural stopping points. You finish the newspaper, the TV show ends, the magazine has a back cover. But social media feeds are literally endless. There's always one more post, one more video, one more story. This design removes natural breakpoints and exploits what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect. Our brains are bothered by incomplete tasks and find it difficult to stop in the middle of something. The infinite scroll makes you feel like you're always in the middle, never reaching a natural conclusion, so you keep going. Second, there's the pull to refresh mechanism, which is deliberately modeled after slot machines. The physical gesture of pulling down to refresh creates a moment of anticipation, what will appear? And that anticipatory moment triggers dopamine. You're literally performing the same motion as pulling a slot machine lever, and it activates the same neural pathways. Third, there's social validation through likes, comments, shares, and follower counts. Humans are fundamentally social creatures who evolved in small groups where social acceptance was critical for survival. Being valued by your tribe meant safety, resources, and reproductive success. Being rejected meant danger or death. So we're hardwired to care intensely about social feedback, and social media has quantified this into immediate, visible metrics. Every like is a small hit of social validation. Someone approved of you, you matter, you're accepted. This activates not just dopamine but also oxytocin, the bonding hormone, and it feels good. But here's the insidious part. The validation is unpredictable, variable ratio again. And it's often insufficient to satisfy our social needs, so we keep posting, keep checking, keep seeking that validation hit. You become dependent on external validation from people you may not even know. And your self-worth gets tied to metrics that are deliberately designed to keep you wanting more. Fourth, there's FOMO, fear of missing out. Social media creates the illusion that everyone else is living more interesting, exciting, successful lives, and that if you're not constantly connected, you'll miss important information, opportunities, or social events. This taps into our evolutionary anxiety about being excluded from the group and our brain's negativity bias that makes us focus more on potential losses than potential gains. The fear of missing something keeps you compulsively checking even when you consciously know you're not missing anything important. Fifth, there's the parasocial relationship phenomenon, where you develop one-sided emotional connections with influencers, celebrities, or even friends whose curated lives you follow. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between real in-person relationships and these digital parasocial ones. It releases some of the same bonding chemicals, feels some of the same connection, which makes you want to keep checking in on these people as if they were real friends. But unlike real relationships that involve reciprocity and genuine connection, parasocial relationships leave you feeling empty while still craving more. Sixth, there's autoplaying content, especially videos. Platforms automatically queue up the next video or story before you've made a conscious decision to continue, exploiting your brain's tendency toward passive consumption and inertia. It's much harder to actively decide to stop than to just keep watching what's already playing. This removes agency and keeps you engaged without conscious choice. Now let's talk about the business model behind all of this. Because understanding that these features aren't accidental, they're intentional is crucial. Social media companies make money by selling your attention to advertisers. The more time you spend on the platform, the more ads you see, the more data they collect about you, the more money they make. This means their entire business model is predicated on maximizing your screen time, and they employ teams of engineers, data scientists, and behavioral psychologists specifically to make their platforms as addictive as possible. They A/B test different features to see which ones keep you scrolling longer. They use machine learning algorithms to figure out exactly what content will keep you engaged. They study your behavior patterns to predict when you're most likely to disengage and send you a notification to pull you back. This is on the conspiracy theory. Former executives and engineers from these companies have publicly admitted and apologized for designing deliberately addictive features. You're not using a neutral tool, you're being actively manipulated by systems designed to exploit your psychological vulnerabilities for profit. Let's discuss why phone addiction in particular has become so pervasive. Your phone isn't just a device, it's become an extension of yourself, a repository for your entire life. It holds your social connections, your entertainment, your news, your work, your banking, your photos, your memories, your identity. It's always with you, always accessible, and is designed to be a one-stop solution for dozens of needs, which means there are countless triggers throughout your day that make you reach for it. Bored? Phone. Anxious? Phone. Waiting? Phone. Lonely? Phone. Curious? Phone. The phone has become the default response to any uncomfortable feeling or empty moment. And this is called experiential avoidance, using the phone to escape or distract from difficult internal experiences. Over time, you lose your tolerance for boredom, for being alone with your thoughts, for discomfort of any kind, because you've trained your brain that the phone is the solution. This creates a dependency where you can't function comfortably without constant access to your device. There is also the phenomenon of phantom vibrations, feeling like your phone is vibrating when it's not, which indicates that your brain has become hypervigilant to potential notifications, even creating phantom signals. Your attention is fragmented and partially allocated to your phone at all times, even when you're not using it. Studies show that just having your phone visible, even face down, reduces cognitive performance and attention capacity because part of your brain is monitoring it. Now let's talk about the psychological and mental health consequences of this addiction, because they're significant and often underestimated. Constant social media use is correlated with increased anxiety, depression, loneliness, poor sleep, reduced attention span, decreased ability to focus deeply, and lower life satisfaction. The comparison culture creates constant feelings of inadequacy, you re-comparing your messy internal reality to everyone else as curated external highlights. The dopamine-driven engagement keeps you in a state of low-level activation that's exhausting and prevents genuine rest. The replacement of in-person social connection with digital interaction leaves you feeling isolated despite being connected to hundreds of people. The fragmentation of your attention makes it difficult to engage in deep work, sustained focus, or meaningful reflection. And the time cost is staggering. The average person spends over 3 hours daily on their phone, which is a significant portion of your waking life consumed by activities that often do unalign with your values or goals. There's also the issue of identity and self-worth becoming tied to your online presence. When your sense of self depends on likes, followers, and online validation, you become vulnerable to anxiety, people-pleasing, and performing a curated version of yourself rather than living authentically. You start making life decisions based on how they'll look online rather than what genuinely serves you. This is a profound psychological shift that particularly affects young people whose identities are still forming. So what do you actually do about phone and social media addiction? First, understand that willpower alone is insufficient against systems specifically designed to override your willpower. You need to change the environment and reduce friction for healthy behaviors while increasing friction for addictive ones. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Most notifications are not urgent and are just designed to pull you back to the app. Remove social media apps from your phone home screen or delete them entirely and access them only through a browser, which adds friction. Set specific times for checking social media rather than constant access, maybe twice a day for 20 minutes. Use app timers and screen time limits to create awareness and boundaries. Create phone-free zones and times no phones in the bedroom, during meals, or first thing in the morning. Replace phone use with alternative behaviors when you feel the urge to check. Do something else like breathe, stretch, read, or engage with your environment. Practice boredom tolerance. Allow yourself to be bored without immediately reaching for entertainment. This rebuilds your capacity for unstructured thought and creativity. Curate your feed ruthlessly. Unfollow accounts that make you feel inadequate, anxious, or compulsive. Follow accounts that genuinely add value. Consider a dopamine detox where you take breaks from highly stimulating activities to recalibrate your reward system. Use grayscale mode on your phone to make it visually less appealing. And most importantly, build real-world activities and connections that provide genuine fulfillment. Hobbies, in-person relationships, physical activity, nature, creative pursuits. These provide deeper, more sustainable satisfaction than digital engagement. If you find that despite these strategies, you're still unable to control your usage and it is significantly impacting your life, consider working with a therapist who specializes in technology addiction or behavioral addictions. This is a real issue that deserves real support. If this video resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who is struggling with phone or social media addiction. Drop a comment. What's your biggest challenge with phone use, and what strategies have helped you? And remember, you're not weak for struggling with this. You're up against sophisticated manipulation. But understanding how it works is the first step toward reclaiming your attention, your time, and your life. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.